Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. Here you will learn all things related to healing from divorce, mind, body, and spirit, so you can create a beautiful new life filled with happiness. I'm Rachel Ruby, author of Divorce to Bliss, divorce coach, speaker, and attorney, and I'm so glad you found me here. Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. I'm Rachel Ruby. If you are watching here on YouTube, please subscribe, turn on notifications, like, comment, and share so I can continue to bring you more fantastic content to help with your journey from divorce to bliss. Today, I'm going to be discussing how to stop blaming especially the former spouse when we are coming out of divorce or we're finished with our divorce and we are trying to start healing. Because blaming is it is a roadblock to healing. And first we need to acknowledge that blaming is a very normal thing within society, within the world we live in. Many people blame in order to avoid taking responsibility. And it can also be seen as a coping mechanism. When we are healing, when we are suffering from a trauma like divorce, it's much easier for many people to simply just take the blame and place it on someone else. And of course, that normally ends up being the former spouse, because it avoids taking responsibility and diving into the fears that consume us and the things that we are afraid of as we go into this new life, right? And the thing is that while it may seem easier to just put the blame on the former spouse instead of really diving into yourself and figuring out why you feel the need to do so, eventually that's going to catch up with you, and it's just going to pull you down deeper and deeper into the victim mentality state and make it much harder for you to heal. Because when you are blaming, when you are not taking responsibility, when you are not turning the mirror on yourself instead of placing it on someone else outside of you, you are the one who knows you best. So doing that means that you can't heal. So we're going to talk today a little bit about how we can take this blaming issue and kind of make it disappear, get rid of it, learn how to turn it around and put things in our favor so that we can go on our way and learn how to heal and be happy. So the first step we can do, and this is a big one and it sounds really simple, but the first step we can do when we are learning how to stop blaming is to be grateful and express gratitude. Again, sounds really basic, and you might say, hey, Rachel, how is being grateful going to help me stop blaming? Well, I'll tell you how, because we're taking something in our minds that is negative. When we blame someone else and we have all of this negative energy inside us and we feel angry and we feel hurt and we feel whatever we're feeling, it's negative, and we're putting that out there onto someone else, we are not focusing on being grateful and we're not focusing on the positive. And we can't heal when we're focusing on the negative. And I've talked about this many times. So this is a really easy, simple thing you can do, baby steps, to change the thoughts that are going on inside of your mind. And it can start with when you wake up in the morning. It's the best time. I do this every morning. Before I even get out of bed, before I even open my eyes, I thank the universe and my God that I am here, that I am healthy, that I have this beautiful day, that I woke up, that I'm able to make this day any way I choose. And I express this gratitude, and then I express gratitude for those I love, for the roof over my head, for my job, for all the things in my life that are really wonderful and make me feel good inside and make me feel positive. And so expressing gratitude is a great way to start so that you can kind of change those little thoughts. And if you keep doing that every day, and you do that not just in the morning when you wake up, but throughout the day, you see something beautiful. You see a bird flying by, or you see a mother and a child running and laughing together. And whatever it is that catches your attention and that you see as beautiful or a miracle, you just express a little prayer of gratitude, a little statement of, wow, even the clouds in the sky. I often look up at the clouds during the day, and I just kind of watch them move and morph, and it makes me feel really good because it's so miraculous, right? So start expressing gratitude. Number 2 is a little bit more challenging. We want to dive into the reasons why we are becoming a blamer or why we have been a blamer. And often this is associated with self-worth. And if you just came out of a divorce and you're feeling really negative, your self-worth is probably a little bit down or a lot. And mine was, and that's normal when I went through my divorce. Even though I was doing a lot of work, it just makes you feel sad. It makes you feel hurt. It makes you feel like something is at an end. And I won't get into that whole part of it with society and everything, but it can really play a number on how you're feeling. And when we look at the reasons why we blame, sometimes we don't know what the reasons are. And it can go all the way back to our childhood. It can go all the way back to how our parents treated us, or how other children treated us, or how anyone may have treated us as a child that caused us to kind of recoil and feel like we're not good enough. And this is such a normal feeling for so many people. But sometimes those feelings that we've never really dealt with from the past can come into play and can cause us to blame the former spouse for all of the things in our life that aren't going right according to us after divorce. So much of this involves looking at our own fears. And when we just went through a trauma like divorce, being afraid is normal. So own that. And it's okay that you're afraid, and it's scary, and the future might be scary and uncertain, and getting out of our comfort zone is always a scary thing. So if we don't know maybe where we're going to live, where, if we have to get a new job, what we're going to be doing, whatever it is that we are afraid of, being alone, that's a huge one. And financial responsibility all on your own is also a huge one. So no matter what those fears are, we need to really start diving into those and understanding why we are feeling them, because it is only then that we can turn around and start feeling more positive, because we can make a plan, right? So sometimes you need help with this, and that can involve a therapist or a healing coach or what have you. So I want you to know that it's okay if you can't figure these things out on your own. And if it's too scary to even take a look at, that's when you have to really trust your intuition and realize that you might need help. The third tip in learning how to stop blaming is to hold yourself accountable. Learn how to hold yourself accountable and really own your own story. And I've talked a lot about our own stories and how we need to let that kind of just take over our lives, right? And not feed into what someone else's version of our story is, or what society thinks we should be doing, or family, culture, religion. We really want to own our story. So we want to recognize the fears that we looked at in step 2. And granted, that can take some time. So we're going to work through that slowly and take baby steps. We're going to recognize those fears. We're going to make a plan for ourselves, and we're going to make a promise to ourselves to hold ourselves accountable for not being a blamer. And what this means in theory in doing the work is to catch ourselves every time we are going to blame someone, or we start to blame someone, and just stop. Catch yourself, close your eyes, take a deep breath. Pause at the top. Let it out. You may need to do several of those. But what you're doing in taking those deep breaths and pausing and closing your eyes is you're preventing yourself from reacting, which is the blaming, right? And so you're going to need to do this several times, maybe many times. But each time you catch yourself about to blame someone, or when you do blame someone, you just kind of stop mid-sentence. Each time you recognize that, that is the start of holding yourself accountable. And again, sometimes it's really hard for us to hold ourselves accountable, and we do need help from a therapist or a coach in order to do that, and recognize that that's okay. That's not a failure. Getting the help is going to put you in a much better frame of mind and allow you to move forward. then the next thing that we want to do in order to learn how to stop blaming is to practice being empathetic. Now, some people are deep empaths like me and can't help but be empathetic in every situation. I walk by a person and I can feel that negative energy and that they're going through something, and it makes me really sad sometimes. And so that's a different issue. And you might have that issue as well. And that's something that you need to control. So there's two different parts of empathy. One is when you're over empathetic, and one is when you're under empathetic. So if you're over empathetic like me, you're going to really want to watch those feelings and the way that you're looking at a situation. Because let's say maybe you're talking to your former spouse about something to do with child custody or something to do with something else that you need to speak with them about. You're selling the house or whatnot. And that person, your former spouse sounds really down, or maybe even says to you that he or she is feeling so low and so depressed. And that can affect you and affect your emotions and affect your feelings. So you need to learn how to kind of get that under control so you can realize that, of course, they have these feelings and they're entitled to feel their own feelings just as you are. But at the same time, you don't get pulled into this kind of well of negativity that they are feeling, because that's not going to help you feel any better. And it's definitely not going to help you stop blaming, right? And then the other thing is when you're under empathetic. And when we're under empathetic, this is really more of the situation where we would blame that former spouse, because that former spouse, let's say, has a new partner and is going on vacation and needs to change the children's schedule. And let's say that really gets to you and really makes you feel angry and hurt because that your former spouse is already in another relationship and you are still trying to just do this healing work and figure things out. So that's when we stop and we take a deep breath and we realize that the former spouse is dealing with things in his or her own way. And whether that thing is right or wrong doesn't matter, because everybody has their own right or wrong. But you need to be empathetic that they are dealing with their journey in their way, in the best way they know how. And maybe you think they didn't get any help with healing, and maybe you think they're jumping into things too fast. Doesn't matter what you think. That's their life. They have to live it. And so you need to just, same thing, close your eyes, take some deep breaths, don't be reactive, and realize that the one who's important right now is you. And blaming your former spouse and telling them what they're doing wrong is not going to help you in your journey. So those are some steps that you can take in order to learn how to stop blaming. And a lot of them require time and patience, just like the healing journey in general requires. And so I want you to just not belittle yourself, not get down on yourself because things aren't happening as quickly as you like, and keep working and keep striving to stop being a blamer and change those negative thoughts to positive thoughts so that you can move on in your healing journey and you can start finding things that you want in your life so you can make them happen. And I wish you the best of luck in your healing journey and your journey to stop blaming the former spouse and to find the strength within to empower yourself and to own your own story so that you can get to the end of that tunnel and see the beautiful bright light at the end. If you have any questions or need any help in your healing journey, please feel free to reach out to me. And I'd love to help you. Have a wonderful day.